In today's video, I will be explaining what is present perfect tense and what is present perfect continuous or progressive tense. I will also pinpoint their differences and tell where and how to use them correctly. I will conclude the video with a quiz to test your understanding on the topic. Welcome, I'm Seema from Edufinite. If you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. So, without much delay, let's delve into the topic. Well, before we delve into the topic, let's do a quick revision on verb and tenses and then move on to our topic. Okay. A verb in a sentence expresses a state of being or a physical action undertaken by the subject of a sentence. That means the subject of a sentence that performs any action or the state of being expressed by the subject is the verb of that sentence. So, the word that expresses that action or the state of being is the verb of that sentence. Okay. Now, verb tenses help us to understand how an action relates to the flow of time. That means verb tells us about the action, the state of being, and the tense expresses or tells us when that action has taken place, whether that it has taken place in the past or in the present or in the future. Next, let's look into two examples to understand it. The artist has painted the picture. So, in this sentence, you can see it is trying to say that the artist has finished painting the picture. Well, in the next sentence, the artist has been painting the picture. So that means the artist had started to paint the picture and is still painting it. So you see the subject and the object in these two sentences is the same, but the auxiliary verb and the form of the action verb is different in the two sentences, and these two sentences are trying to tell us two different timelines when the action has taken place. The first one tells us that it has been completed in the recent past, whereas the second one tells us that it had started in the past, but it is still continuing. Okay, now let's see what is present perfect tense all about. Well, according to its definition, present perfect tense is used in a sentence with action verbs to emphasize the completion of an event in the recent past. So, any event that has just been completed or it has just been completed in the recent past is expressed by this present perfect tense. Okay. Now, what is the formation or the structure of a sentence of present perfect tense? Well, we will have the subject, then we have to choose either the have or the has with the third person singular form of the subject, or if the subject is in a first person singular plural or second person singular plural or third person plural, then we use have. Then if it's a regular verb, the action verb, if it's a regular verb, we'll have to have the ed form. But if it's an irregular verb, then we'll have to use the V3 form or the past participle form of the verb. Now let's look into the sentence. She has finished her work. So here the subject is she, third person singular. So we have used has, and of course, since this is finish is a regular verb, so it's the ed form finished. So she has finished her work. That means she has just completed her work. This sentence is in present perfect tense. Okay, the next one. They have eaten the donuts. So they, that's the subject, that's in third person plural. We have used have over here. Then eat is the irregular verb. We have to take the past participle form, that is the V3 form, so it's eaten. So they have eaten the donuts. Next, let's look into the time phrases used in present perfect tense. So they are as before, this week, since, for, just, yet, ever, never, already, recently, etc. Now, let's look into what is present perfect continuous, or as others say, present perfect progressive tense. Well, the definition is as present perfect continuous tense in a sentence is used to talk about ongoing activities or events that started in the past and are still continuing up until now, or has recently stopped with an effect on the present. So we use present perfect continuous tense when we are trying to depict some action that has started in the past but is still continuing on, or maybe it has recently stopped but its effect is being felt right now. So the formation of the sentence is as the subject. Then again we have to choose have or has, as I told you earlier. But here we have to have been, B-E-E-N, after have or has, and then the regular or the irregular verb, we have to add ing to it since this is continuous form. So it's base form of the verb, whether it's regular or irregular, plus ing, that is the present participle form of the verb. That's how the structure is. So the sentences are as, they have been finishing the painting. So they, that's the third person plural, so have, B-E-E-N, been. So they have been finishing, as I told you, finish is a base form, ing, so finishing. They have been finishing the painting. So they've started the painting and they are trying to finish it. So they started it in the past, but it hasn't been completed yet. My cousin has been painting his face. So he's looking very cute, yes. So he had started painting his face some time back and maybe he has just completed it. So he's looking very cute. So my cousin has been painting his face. Okay. Now, the time phrases of present perfect continuous tense, since, for. Next, we come to the comparison between present perfect tense and present perfect continuous or progressive tense. When do we use these two tenses? So if we have them side by side, it will be easier for you to understand. Present perfect tense is used to focus on completed action. So when an action is complete and we are trying to say it, we use present perfect tense. For example, we have read the article you suggested. So we have finished reading it. You suggested us and we have finished it. So now we can discuss. So it's something like that. Okay, next we have present perfect continuous tense is used to focus on the action itself. So here it's the previous present perfect tense was focusing on the completed action. But over here in present perfect continuous tense, it focuses on the action itself. For example, we have been reading the article you suggested. So you suggested some article and we are reading. We are still continuing on with the action. That means we are still reading the book. Okay. The next one is, we use present perfect tense to talk about long-lasting or permanent situations. So some situations that are permanent or long-lasting, when we are trying to say about them, we'll use present perfect tense. For example, this Buddhist monastery has stood on the hills for thousands of years. So yes, this Buddhist monastery, maybe this is very old, maybe it was built during the time of Lord Buddha, and thousands of years have passed by and it's still there. So until unless it's destroyed by some natural calamity, it will continue to be there. So that's something long-lasting or permanent situation. So we've used present perfect tense. Next, we use present perfect continuous tense to talk about temporary actions or situations. For example, the boys have been playing in the rain for hours. So yes, this is a temporary action or a situation because yes, it's raining. They're enjoying playing in the rain, but then they're not going to go on playing for their lifetime. They will stop at a point, So that's a temporary action. So to depict or to tell about some temporary action or situation, we use present perfect continuous tense. Okay, the next one is to emphasize the action and not the time. So when we are trying to emphasize the action and not the duration or the time period, we use present perfect tense. For example, Meera has waited for hours. So here the stress is on the word waited. So focus is on the action. Next we have present perfect continuous tense, on the other hand, is used to emphasize on the length of time that passed. So here the focus is not on the action, it is in the length of time. That means the focus is on the time period that has passed by. For example, Meera has been waiting for hours. So here it emphasizes on the length of time. So in these two sentences, I guess you've understood. One is focusing on the action, Meera has waited for hours, where the second one, in the present perfect continuous tense, Meera has been waiting for hours. So the focus or the emphasis is on the length of time that she has been waiting. Next we have present perfect tense is used to focus on the result on completion of the action. So some action that is completed and then the result because of that completion, when we focus on that, so we use present perfect tense. For example, I have completed my chores, so let's go for a walk. Yes, so whatever I had to do, I've completed all of it. So now I'm free. The result of it, I can go out for a walk. So let's go out for a walk. Okay. Next, we have present perfect continuous tense is used to focus on the direct result that comes from the action itself. So let's look into the sentence to understand it. I have been completing my chores, so I'm tired. So you see, I have been completing whatever had to be done or whatever work was left. So I was completing them. So for that reason, what happened? Because of that, the direct result is I am tired. So you see, one is I've completed my chores, so now I'm free. As a result, I can go out. So let's go out for a walk. And the other one, present perfect continuous tense, I have been completing my chores. It's taken a long time maybe. So I've become stressed out and I've become tired. Okay, the next one is present perfect tense is used to express unfinished actions. For example, I have stayed here for 12 years and I still stay here. That means it's focusing on the action that is staying. I have stayed here for 12 years. Okay, so I'm still continuing on living or staying over here. The next, we use present perfect tense to express long action that started in the past and is still valid. For example, I have been staying here for almost 12 years. So here, yes, I still stay here, but here I'm focusing on what? That I have been staying and I'm still staying, but for almost 12 years. So I'm focusing on the long action, how long I've been staying here. Okay. Next we have present perfect tense is used to express how many or how much. When we have to quantify something, then we use present perfect tense. For example, I have read 3 books this week. So yes, how many books? 3 books. So when we have to quantify, we use present perfect tense. Next, I have drunk at least a liter of Coke today. So how much Coke? At least a liter of Coke today. So when we have to quantify how many or how much, we use present perfect tense. Next, we use present perfect continuous to express how long, the duration. I have been reading this novel the whole day. So the duration, how long have I been reading this novel? We use present perfect tense to focus on the length of time or the duration that has been taken to perform this action. Okay. Next, there are certain exceptions which we should know. We always use present perfect tense and not present perfect continuous tense. So there are certain cases where we can only use present perfect tense and we cannot use present perfect continuous tenses. So when we announce a news for the first time, we cannot use present perfect continuous tense. Let's look into the sentence to understand it. Have you heard the CEO has resigned? So we usually say it this way. Whenever the news we are trying to, tell it for the first time, we use present perfect tense. Have you heard the CEO has resigned? We use the present perfect tense. We never say, have you been hearing the CEO has been resigning? So that's very incorrect way of representing. Next, with stative verbs. So with action verbs, of course, present perfect continuous tense, we always use. Stative verbs are those verbs that tell us about the state of the subject and not the action. So such stative verbs are never used in present perfect continuous tense. That means we don't use it with continuous tense. For example, Rohan has always liked sports. Like is a stative verb. So we have used present perfect tense. Rohan has always liked sports. We cannot say Rohan has been liking sports. That's very wrong. That's wrong. We cannot say that. Again, I have seldom understood economics. So again, understood is a stative verb. It's not an action verb. Liked, similarly, like is a stative verb. It's not an action verb. So we cannot say I have seldom been understanding economics. Again, the next sentence, we have known each other since 2011. Known, again, that is a stative verb. Know is a stative verb. It's not an action verb. So we cannot say we have been knowing each other since 2011. So you see, with stative verbs, we cannot use present perfect continuous tense. Again, to announce the news for the first time, we use present perfect tense and not the present perfect continuous tense. And the other one is to refer to actions that are completed at a single point in time, such as start, stop, finish. When there is no duration, because present perfect continuous tense usually focuses on the length of time and the duration, the period in which that action has taken place. So since these verbs which just are, completed at a single point, that means start. You start means you just start and that's all. You start, you stop. So it doesn't continue. Start means you just started right now. It does not continue. That action does not continue. Stop is also similarly one point, single point. Again, finish, similarly, you finish some work. That means at that point you finish. It does not continue on. So with such verbs, start, stop, finish, we use present perfect tense. For example, have you finished your homework yet? You don't say, have you been finishing your homework yet? That's wrong. Again, has the function started already? So see, this is present perfect tense. We never say, has the function been starting already? So these are the three cases where we prefer present perfect tense and we don't use present perfect continuous tense. Okay. The next is contractions. We contract. How do we contract? Generally, we contract the subject, that means the doer of the action, and has and have. So has and have, it comes after the subject. So usually we contract these two together and we use the short forms. For example, I have is written as I've eaten my dinner. Next we have I've been cleaning my house since morning. So that's first one is the present perfect tense, as you can see, and the second one is the present perfect continuous or progressive tense. So that's how we shorten it. Next we have the third person singular, he, she, it. So we use has with it. So we write he's, she's or its. That's the short form. We don't write has. Sometimes we skip and we make it he's, she's or its. And the examples are he's eaten his dinner already. So this is present perfect tense. Next, he's been cleaning the wardrobe for past 2 hours. So this is again present perfect continuous or present perfect progressive tense. But you have to remember one thing. For the third person singular, we also use similar contractions for the present continuous tense. Let me give you an example so that you'll understand it. Here, he's eating his dinner now. Now this is present continuous tense. But if you say, how do we understand whether this is present continuous tense or whether this is present perfect tense? Well, you can see the formation and you'll be able to understand. He's eaten, that's eaten, third form of the verb or the past participle. So of course that's the present perfect tense. And here eating, ing, the present participle. So this is of course continuous tense, present continuous tense. Okay, now he's eating his dinner now. This is what? As you can see, ing. So obviously this is he is eating his dinner now. That means present continuous tense. Now if we compare it with the present perfect continuous tense. So what do we see? We will have been over there. So that will differentiate whether it's present continuous tense or present perfect continuous tense, even though the contractions are, the same. He's, both are same. But you see, in present continuous, we'll just have ing, he's eating his dinner now. And in present perfect, we'll have been in between. So that's how we differentiate between the two. Okay. Next we have we, you, they. So first person, second person and third person plural form, or you is of course, it's singular, plural is the same. So with them, what do? We use have. So the contraction is we've, you've, they've. And the sentence is they've done their homework. So this is present perfect tense. And next we have they've been doing their homework. So yes, this is how we use the contraction. Next, there is a little quiz to test your understanding. So let's do it now. Tom has lived here for 3 years and Tom has been living here for 3 years. Are they correct or incorrect? What do you think? Well, yes, both are correct because you use for. Tom has lived here for 3 years. That means the focus is that he is still continuing on to live here. And Tom has been living here for 3 years. That means same thing. It means the same. He's still staying here, but it focuses on the fact that he's been living here for the period of time, for 3 years. Okay. Next, we have, has the movie started already? Or has the movie been starting already? Which one is correct, or are both correct? What do you think? Well, as I told you, when we use verbs, which it cannot be continued on. It's just, pinpoint action. As I told you earlier, so we use only present perfect tense. So, of course, the first one is correct and the second one is wrong, because the second one is present perfect continuous tense, and you cannot use start, finish and stop, as I told you earlier, with present perfect continuous tense. Okay. The next one is, I have understood the sum thoroughly, or I have been understanding the sum thoroughly. In these two sentences, which one do you think is correct, or are both of them correct? Well, yes. Understand or understood, basic verb is understand. That's what? That's a stative verb. So, obviously, there will be no continuous tense. So, the first one is correct and the second one is wrong. You cannot say, I have been understanding the sum thoroughly. Well, the next set. She has written the essay on environmental pollution and she has been writing the essay on environmental pollution. Are both of them right? Or which one is right? What do you think? Yes, both are correct. Because the first one focuses on the completed action. That means she has completed writing the essay on environmental pollution. Whereas in the second sentence, she has been writing the essay on environmental pollution. That means she is still writing. She hasn't completed it. So both are correct. So I guess you had some insight into what is present perfect tense and what is present perfect continuous tense. So that's all for today. Hope the lesson was useful. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section. I'll be back with a new video soon. Till then, take care, stay safe and be happy.